Assalamu alaikum. My name is Noel, and I wanted to make this video to talk about my conversion to Islam. When I first started researching Islam, I came onto YouTube and I watched video after video after video of brothers and sisters who converted or reverted to Islam, and that was 1 year ago. 1 year ago, and I felt like it would be fitting for me to come back and tell my story and my walk to Islam. And I just hope that it can be inspirational to somebody out there because I was inspired a year ago by so many people's stories. A little background information about myself. I am American, born and raised in the South from Tennessee, 25 years old. I'll be 26, inshallah, in a few months. And I'm a single mother. Growing up, I was raised in a devout Christian home. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. So when I was little, I spent my Saturday mornings knocking on doors, giving people Watchtower and Awake magazines, sharing Bible verses with people. That was my life, basically. My dad was an elder in our local congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses, and he took the role very seriously. We had Bible study in our home, usually 2 evenings every week, and we also went to our local Kingdom Hall at the time twice a week, and a congregational Bible study once a week. And that was what my life revolved around. My life revolved around the Bible. My life revolved around knocking on doors and sharing the Bible with other people. And that was all that I knew. Being raised as a Jehovah's Witness, I didn't really know much about other religions. I didn't know much about other denominations of Christians either. I just didn't know. I hate to call myself ignorant, but I was very ignorant. By the time I hit my teenage years, I really started having issues with some of the things that I was learning. I felt like it wasn't necessarily that I had issues with what I was learning. I felt like the questions that I had were not being answered fully. I had all these questions about life and death. And yes, my parents gave me an answer, but I felt like something was amiss. By the time I hit 16 years old, I completely rebelled against my family, against my religion. And this is not something, that I'm proud of. It was a hard time in my life. I felt like I was searching for something and I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was. But I just knew that I was tired of, my parents, I loved them to death, but they were very strict, and they tried to limit my associations with people who were not Jehovah's Witnesses. So I would go to school, but I could not hang out with any friends from school afterward. I couldn't do regular things like have sleepovers and go to football games and stuff like that. And just I couldn't be a kid. I just could not be a regular American kid because they had me so hemmed in. Well, by the time that I was 16, I rebelled, and I rebelled hard. I started questioning the religion very loudly. My parents suffered a lot of embarrassment around that time. They just kind of wanted me to hush, just hush and be quiet and be good. And I wasn't having it. When I was 17, I got kicked out. I was in my senior year of high school. I had started dating a guy. Well, I had been secretly dating him for a while. Also in the rebellion against my parents, I've been secretly dating him. My senior year, he and I got married. We had a very tumultuous relationship. He was abusive. I was afraid for my life. I mean, we were together 3 years, and I cannot even describe to you some of the horrible things that I went through within this marriage. And, during this time that we were married, I was going through all of this emotional and physical abuse with my husband. I was very young and, had 3 sons with him. And I still was asking myself these bigger questions. Like during this time that we were married, the 3 years we were married, I went to almost every local church looking for answers, looking for a pastor who could make sense to me. I was searching. I started attending a private Christian university. I was there for 3 years, and part of our university requirements were that you take Old Testament history and New Testament history. You had to have those. That was part of our core requirements. We also had to attend chapel 2 days a week, a Wednesday and Friday, which was like a small little worship service. And I thought if I threw myself into that I would find these answers. So I did. I threw myself into it. I started really studying the Bible, double time what I had when I was, living with my parents, and started volunteering to do things. I was teaching an adult literacy class with a Christian organization here. I even changed my major to a Christian studies major. And I felt like I really was not getting the answers that I needed. And I was getting these varying answers. You know what I'm saying? And I just felt like maybe this is not it. Maybe I should look outside of the Christian world for answers. So, for the first time in my life, I started looking into different philosophies and ways of life. And I have to be honest with you, Islam was the last thing on my list. I laugh about it now, but at the time I was like, I can be a Buddhist, I can be whatever, but I can't be Islamic. And the reason why was because I was American born and raised. I said that to you. I was in 8th grade. I remember I was in 8th grade in 2001, and I remember a teacher running into my classroom to say that the World Trade Center had been hit by a hijacked airplane. And I watched as those towers fell, and I was in tears, 8th grade, and I could not understand how something this terrible could be done. And the worst part about it was the fact that the religion of Islam had been plastered all over that. All that I knew in my life about Islam came from the media. That's all that I knew. I had never talked to any Muslim families. I had never, researched Islam. I had never looked into it at all. All that I knew came from social media. It came from the news. It came from the media, period. And I can see now how it was foolish of me just to assume that everything that I was hearing in the media was correct. I think we all know better than that now. But, like I said, I was ignorant. I was ignorant. During my quest, my, spiritual quest, I guess you could call it, I like to read a lot. So, I was going into a local bookstore, and I actually was looking for a biography on Mother Teresa. I don't know exactly why I was looking for a biography on Mother Teresa, but that's what I went into the bookstore for that day. And I was going down the aisles, taking my time, and I just happened to run into an English translation of the Holy Quran. And I looked and I did a double take right there in the aisle, and I picked it up. I kind of thumbed through it a little bit. I was like, I wonder if I should get this. Like, should I look into this? And I did. I bought the Quran. I went home. I immediately started reading it. I read through the whole Quran within the first week of buying it. And I have to tell you, I read the Quran, and every misconception that I had about Islam instantly, just like that, it was gone. When I read the Quran, I was presented with a part of Islam that I'd never seen or heard about. I fell in love with the Quran, which in turn caused me to fall in love with Allah. And I remember crying. There was several verses in the Quran where I just stopped and I would try to catch my breath, and I would just cry because I would think, this is so beautiful. This is the truth that I have been seeking. This is it. This is it. Alhamdulillah, this is it. And I immediately, I started delving into it more, researching it more earnestly. I went ahead and started slowly changing my life to, you know, be more in line with Islamic principles. I, at the time, around the time that I quit, going to the churches and quit looking into the Christian way of life, I got heavy into tattoo culture. I tattooed a large majority of my body. I had several piercings in my face. I had my cheeks pierced, several piercings in my ear, tattooed here on the side of my head. And this was my daily look. I have to laugh. You have to forgive me for laughing, but I was one of those. That was my daily look. I had tattoos from head to toe and the dramatic makeup. I even shaved my head like that. And that was my daily look. Clothes were very skimpy and I wear really high heels and that's who I was. Have mercy. But anyway, I slowly started to change. I slowly started dressing more modestly. And in time, then came the hijab. And I think that once I actually converted and I started wearing the hijab, and I think that right there really marked my transformation and how far I had come because before I started studying Islam, I never thought that I would wear a hijab like that. You could not tell me that I was going to wear hijab. Like, no, 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 no. That was just how I felt about it. I did not understand the beauty and the meaning behind the hijab. And I started wearing the hijab. It came pretty easily for me. I did have some difficulty, you know, in the city that I live in. I live in a small, medium-sized city, not very big. There's not much diversity here. The majority of the people here are Baptist. We do have a strong presence of Jehovah's Witnesses, but they're a minority. We also have Catholics, but they're also a minority. Majority, I live in the Bible Belt, so the majority of the people here are Baptist, and they are good people. I will say that much. But I did deal with a lot of stares and initial awkwardness once I started to wear the hijab, and more recently, I started to wear the niqab. So it's funny when you look back on the journey and all the things that you've been through and the point that brought me to Islam. I have never been so happy and secure with myself. I've never felt like I had so much meaning and purpose in my life. And that came to me through Islam. All the confusion, all the doubts, the questions, the searching ended when I picked up the Quran. And I know there's people probably who will watch this, you're curious, you have questions. My advice to you would be don't stop searching. If you're curious, the best thing I can tell you, read the Quran for yourself. Read the Quran for yourself. Have conversations with Muslims in your community. If you have any, visit the mosque. Talk to people. Don't be afraid. Do not be afraid. And, I was so afraid. I was so nervous. I was worried about, what my family and friends would say. But my advice to you would be just talk, ask questions, do your research, read, and, Allah will bless you for that. Allah will bless you for that. So yeah, I hope that some of you can relate to at least my background. And I don't know, just tell me what you think. Have a great day. Bye.